Hello, everybody. So today we are into part 3 of energy, transportation, and communication with the communication revolution and talking about changes from the radio to computers. Let's dive right in. So really, it's all about faster communication, right? We can exchange cultural ideas. We can impact political changes. The military needs better communication. And of course, it impacts the economic realm as well. And really, it starts with the radio. And there is my man, Guglielmo Marconi, who I've spoken about earlier, the developer of the radio. Super important. On the right is the massive radio you would see in a house in the 1940s. And the radio was just really super important because, again, it is going to allow for greater connection. It is going to give you the ability to learn about what's going on. You can get news, sports, the development of television comes from this. So the radio was really, really important. Okay. Of course, then we go on to the telephone. This is part of that day-to-day communication, which is also important politically. For instance, if leaders of countries have an issue, they can actually get on a phone and talk to one another. You just want to talk to somebody during the day. Yes, I know a lot of people aren't using landlines anymore, but we have to start somewhere. And this is all, super important that allows that basic communication, which is also important economic. You got to make changes. You got to talk to different types of branches. Faster communication is more efficient and better use in economics. Of course, then we move on to the television. And of course, you have on the left there, both for is one of an old school TV, and on the right, just a fantastic show that I think you should watch. We have got a piece of technology that really transforms culture. Yes, it can be used for news and it gives us reports, and a lot of us are watching television today with some of the different things going on in our world, 2020, dealing with the spread of this virus that we're trying to deal with. But it also is an escape. It's a way of entertainment that also impacts things like fashion. It impacts where people want to go in the world. It's an escape, as I said. It's huge. It's huge. Although, side note, it also these are technologies that can be controlled, whether it be radio or the television. It's been used for propaganda. It's been used to also, though, criticize a variety of different things. It's really a piece of technology that has transformed a lot of our daily life. And yes, if you look at streaming services and stuff like that today, they're still developing the content that you would see, whether it's news, whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment. It's really all the same type of thing. But what we really get to is computers. And what we need to understand is with computers, there's a lot of tech that allows us to achieve computers and television, things like vacuum tubes, transistors, integrated circuits, microprocessors, fiber optic cables. That's what gives us all that. And I have here the biggest thing since fire, because, it just might be. This on the picture on the left is your first computer, and that is the ENIAC, which is primarily used for mathematics. Computers would eventually be used for military and research institutions. They used vacuum tubes, so that's why they had to be so big. The invention of the integrated circuits and microprocessors, of course, have allowed us to have super small computers like the ones in our pockets, which I'll get to in a moment. But this is going to be a big change. And the guys that really helped change it are those two on the left. There's an old school picture there. Steve Jobs at one of his Apple conferences when he was still with us, showing the beginning of the company. And that on the left is his friend Steve Wozniak, and then himself, Steve Jobs, on the right. That brought us the first personal computer. The concept of that we would want a computer to do things in our home is transformational. And today you are at a distinct disadvantage if you do not have one in your home. And it's not just for entertainment. Computers are entertainment. They allow us direct communication. They allow us to do banking. It's amazing. There's nothing that we we can't do on a computer almost to the certain degree. I mean, sure, eventually we're going to create the robots that take us over, but before that point, we're doing some pretty remarkable things. And a lot of that does have to do with the internet, and that can primarily be given to the credit to two CERN researchers, and that is Bob Kahn on the left and Vint Cerf, okay, Robert or Vinton. I mean, I don't think I have to go too deep into exactly what is the impressiveness of the internet, but it is going to revolutionize so many things. You as a human today, if you have access to the internet, you have access to more knowledge than any other person who has ever lived in the history of the world. You might not know what to do with that knowledge, but nonetheless, you have got it. So please go learn something new, okay? If you're going to use the internet, learn something new, okay? You're watching this video probably because I assigned it, but aside from this video, go learn something new. That's the great thing about these videos. It has opened up tremendous businesses and job opportunities. It's revolutionized education because, again, you can learn things. It revolutionized businesses. Now there are businesses that are just online. It's just incredible, all of the things that we've been able to do with the internet. And to go along with that is the smartphone. Now, of course, we use the smartphone for a variety of things, pictures, video, social media, which I'll talk in a second. But the smartphone is really transformational. I mean, one, yes, you can talk to people, whether it's through text or actually speaking them. The access of email that you can get on the phone for quick communication as well is really important. The fact that you can do economic transactions on a phone is huge. In many areas, I'll give a great example, banking services. In many places in Latin America and sub-Saharan Africa, actual physical banks are almost non-existent. Now, with access to smartphones, because it's a lot easier to actually build a smartphone tower than to try to run internet cable and stuff. And so with Wi-Fi technology, that's crucial, this over-the-air internet signals. You can now have access to banking, which is huge for so many of these areas, and it's bringing them into the economic fold of the entire world. I mean, with the use of the smartphone and the interconnectedness that you can really get. If I pop back here, I mean, with the internet, it's crazy. So I have this channel, right? And I'm proud of it, and I try to work really hard. But like, the fact of the matter is that somebody down here in Australia is the 8th most subscribers and views that I have on my channel. Okay, so the United States is the most, India is number 2, and then I go through a variety of nations, but Australia is number 8. Australia is 10,000 miles from where I live. 10,000 miles. Yet hundreds of people in Australia have watched what I've done. That's nuts. I mean, I'm nothing compared to all the incredible people on YouTube. I'm just some random guy. But the fact that you can have that I could buy something from the country of Georgia online is crazy. Or that I could do a video call live going back down here to my smartphone and see someone face to face that is hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. It is incredible. And when we look at these impacts again, we look at the communication that we can do. We look at those economics I've talked about, the education, the banking. When you put all those things together, the internet has transformed society. Now, are we a little addicted to it? We might be. People are starting to have legitimate problems. They can't put it away. They can't disconnect. And that's a different type of thing that we can get to in class, because that is problematic as well. Hence why I have the chart here. And stones, pretty useful. Pretty useful. So that's something to think about as well. And then finally, we also have the development of social networks. Now, I know a lot of people that listen to this might be a little younger. You might not use Facebook, but there were some other social media applications that existed before Facebook, but Facebook was really revolutionary. To understand the size of Facebook, Facebook has 2.45 billion users per month. The next closest is Twitter with 300 million. It's not even in the ballpark. Okay, and when we look at the benefits of social media, again, it's been huge for businesses, particularly Facebook, and there with the founder, Mark Zuckerberg. It has transformed the way that people do business, the way that people that communicate. I actually belong to a gym, and there are things that I can do actually at home when some of the people hop on go Facebook Live, and so I can actually do some things at home while seeing some of my coaches, which is really, really cool. Again, businesses have used it to sell, buy things, get a presence. It's connected people after tons and tons of time. It gives people opportunities to comment on something and get more involved in the political process. The negatives to it, we've seen issues with violation of of privacy. We've seen issues with perhaps being slanted one way or another or overly censoring things on social media. We also have an issue with online and cyber bullying on social media. So, it's not always, unicorns and roses, but sometimes we have to have the good with the bad. But when we look about the communication changes that have happened, it is wild. I mean, look at it this way. Someone in the year 1900, okay, let's go back 100 years. In the year 1920, some people can make some phone calls. Lots of people are writing letters. 2020, I can get on a computer and be face-to-face with a friend of mine in England. No problem. I can text someone in Mongolia and they can text me back within a couple minutes. It's insane. And it's only going to continue. Okay, so that kind of wraps up the big technological changes of the 20th century. Hopefully you guys learned a little something, and I will see you soon.